Welcome back, design students. In this video, we're going to create and render a quick animation so that you can turn this in, and you'll also learn a little something more about keyframing and rendering out an animation. So let's get started. I'm going to switch back to shaded mode here for my display. And when we're animating, we need to be in the channel box tab. So make sure you're in the channel box tab. When you select something, you should see the translate and rotate parameters there. All right, so let's get started by selecting our root control and moving it over to one side here like so. And then let's select its translate parameters here and right click and select key selected, and that creates a keyframe. And then let's move forward about 15 frames and move it to the other side. And right click, key selected. And so now what we have is our object moving from one side to the other. Now let's click play and see what that speed looks like. That looks pretty good. Now what I'd like is for this thing to move back and forth in kind of a cycle. So I could just keyframe it by hand each time, but notice I have every 15 frames it's moving. So what I want to do is just copy these keyframes. So to do that, you hold down Shift and press on your middle mouse wheel and click and drag to make a selection around those keyframes. And then we're going to right click on them and select copy. And then we're going to move our playhead up to 30, which is the next frame 15 frames down. Right click and select paste. And now we have two cycles, 1, 2. And then let's move another 15 frames down to 60. And right click and paste. I don't think I'm exactly 15 frames, but that doesn't matter. And I don't have enough frames here visible, so I'm going to expand my viewport a little bit. And paste one more time. And then I'm going to shorten my timeline to frame 133, which is my last frame. So now I should have a cycle of movement. Sort of. I need the first frame to be the same as the last frame, so let me get a couple more frames in here, and I'm going to hold down Shift and my middle mouse wheel, and I'm going to copy just that frame with Command C and move that one up basically 15 frames to here. And make 146 my last frame. And let's see if that is a better cycle. Yes. As long as your first frame is the same as your last frame, you'll have a nice repeating cycle that can just loop. So that looks pretty cool, but let's use our control objects and make our mesh deform with the movement of our object back and forth. Now what we're going to do is select all of these control objects and we're going to rotate them like so to make it bend as it moves. So let's start by selecting all three of these control objects, not the root, just these top three, and select their rotation parameter, all of their rotation parameters, right click and select key selected because we want a 0 frame at frame 1. And then let's move the playhead forward until the object is in the middle and select the rotate tool with all of these three selected and bend it over some. And then right click over here and select key selected. These are still selected, see? And then move forward until it's at the end of its cycle, which would be here, and we want these to be 0. So select the one that has data and make it 0. And then select all of them and key selected. And this is the result. And that's what we want. So now we need to make it go back the other way. So we've already got the keyframe here. Let's put it back to the middle. It doesn't go back exactly in the middle, but let's assume that that is the middle. And then rotate them back the other way like so. And key selected. And then let's move it to the end and zero that one out. Select them all and key selected. And this is what we have so far. And we just keep doing that. So move forward to the middle, rotate them in this direction, key it, go to the end, zero that one out, select them all, key selected, go back to the middle, rotate them back in the other direction, key selected, go to the end, zero that one out, key them all, and just keep doing that. And this is what we'll have. I'm just going to finish this up, and I'm going to time lapse it. I'm going to pause the audio here, and I'm going to time lapse this, and you can just do it yourself as well. And this is what you should have. Pretty cool. Okay, so for you to turn this in, you need to render this into a video file. And we're going to do a very quick, dirty render thing that's just going to render what's in the viewport called a playblast. So let's go to Windows, Playblast, and let's bring up the options for Playblast. Now we want to render the entire time slider because we want it to loop like we've got it set up. We want to render the view. I don't know what that means, but I'm going to unclick it just for fun. And we only have one choice here, really, for video, an AVI. Going to leave the encoding alone, although we could change the codec if we wanted to. Going to leave the quality at 70. We're going to make the display whatever the window size is, and you need to check this box here, save to file, and browse to your desktop, which is what I've done. And then you also need to name your file. I'm going to name it animation01 and click save, and you can see the file path is here. And then you're going to click Playblast. And that will render your animation, and you should have it looking like that. Now that shows the controllers. I really don't want to show the controllers. So I'm going to, and you can see what hide ornaments does. That hides the grid and everything and all the stats and everything in the viewport. I'm going to select my controller group up here in the outliner, and I'm going to go to Display, Hide Selection. And then I'm going to do it again. And this is what I expect you to do as well. And that's what you should end up with. Turn that into this assignment, and in the next series of lessons, we're going to rig our rabbit character. And I'll see you then.